Hi, I'm about to do decals on my model. I just got it painted. Here it is. What do you guys think? How about the next step? What should I do? Okay, you got your paint on. Looks kind of smooth, not too bad. I'd recommend a step where you gloss coat before you do decals because it'll make your life a little bit easier. Right on. Tasty. Tasty indeed. But let me tell you something. Let me lay you some truth. You don't need gloss before decals. You just need to not listen to that old dude. Stick your fingers in your hair, take your hearing aids out. I don't know, whatever. But that old dude is just wrong, man. I mean, when you have skills like me, you can put decals right onto flat paint, and it's just dope. It's dope. It's just dope. I mean, I never had a problem. I never had a problem. Now, people who do gloss coats, they say they never had a problem, and that makes me so mad. Never had a problem. Who frickin' says I never had a problem? Yeah, I understand. It's very confusing. Who do you listen to, right? He's right, though. He's right. You can put decals over flat paint. I've done it many times myself, actually. But over the years, I've come to appreciate how much easier and how much more consistent my results are if I use a gloss coat. So I'm going to take a step here and I'm going to show you how to do it. And maybe this will help you decide whether or not you want to do it over flat paint or whether you want to do it over gloss paint. Or maybe you want to do a combination of both. One thing for sure is it doesn't hurt to try different things, right? And what I'm going to try to do is show you a technique that has worked for me for many years. And this technique is simply using a gloss coat. Then we're going to add some decals, and then, you know, you can decide if that works for you or not, okay? What do you think? Sure, why not? Really? Dude, this is a waste of time. This is completely unnecessary. There are way better ways to spend your time. Like going through the internet and telling people they shouldn't gloss. Just think of how much more time you would have if you weren't glossing. Think about it. It could be hours. Really? We're going to sit here and watch this guy tell us how to do something that we know is unnecessary? Why would we do that? What kind of idiot would put that kind of time into something so trivial? Why? Well, okay then. Let me show you how I do it, and then you can decide for yourself if it works for you or not. All right? All right. All right. Hello there. I'm Frank Crenshaw, and this is Frank's Plastic Modeling page. Welcome to my video on decal process for Mission Models paint. This is an Airfix P40B that I am about to have completed, that I have painted in Mission Models paint and painted on most of the markings. However, some of the markings were decals, the Hell's Angel marking and the Disney logo. Both of those are on both sides, so that's 4, and then a few stencils. So this particular model doesn't have a ton of decals on it, but it's important that the decals on it look good, because if you're going to paint on your markings, your decals damn well better not ruin it. And that's why I'm going to show you this process. This is a process that I've used time and time again, and it just works. This model is built to test a process. All right, everything's looking good. Why did I do that? Well, this right here is another Airfix P40B, but it's a little different. This has a lot of time into it. I have completely rescribed it and fixed all the erroneous panel lines up in the front of the nose here. I have added rivets, an aftermarket cockpit, and I've added the Edward flapwells. This is the potential to be a really nice model. And one of the models that I've always wanted to own is a really good P40B from the AVG in the early 1940s, or in the very early 1940s, just before World War II broke out. Or I guess it would be in the late 1940s, just before World War II broke out. And anyway, Airfix gives me a kit that's pretty close, but the paints and stuff that are out, I have to figure out a process because each type of paint requires a different process. Today we're going to discuss a mission models process or an acrylic process. This would also work for life color or Vallejo. So most of the decals that I used on this particular model, I have a lot left over. So we're just going to take those and put those on some plastic. So the process will start with a painted piece of a hack model. Now this is a wing painted exactly the same as this finished model, and it's painted in the same mission models paint, and it's applied in the exact same manner that I applied the paint to this model. And that manner is this paint is painted over a silver base. It has been thinned with Future, and it was used to test a sort of a scratching, weathering thing, which was kind of interesting. But I'll be honest with you, I can do the same thing with a silver pencil, and I think it actually looks better. So I don't know. I'm not entirely sold on Mission Models paint, but I wanted to try it. But I'm going to show you the process. So the first step is putting a clear coat on this. So now that we have the part, we have to paint it. This happens to be my paint booth. For this particular demonstration, I'm going to use Future Floor Wax. Future? Yeah. Future? Really? Mm-hmm. Future. Future is bright. Get it? Future bright? Future so bright, gotta wear shades. That's not funny, man. That ain't funny. And secondly, you're old. You're really old. It's kind of funny. Not funny. It's kind of funny. Yeah, okay, well, anyway. We fill the airbrush about half full with Future. And one of the problems with Future is it's a little thick coming out of the bottle. Future is a floor wax. It's not designed to be sprayed. It's designed to be used on a floor with a mop. So that might mean it's a little thick, right? I mean, when you put Tamiya X22 in your airbrush, you thin it. You don't just dump it straight in, and just because it's a modeling product, shoot it. One of the problems people have with Future is they shoot it too thick, and it can grain up on the model. It can do all kinds of problems. This results in them putting heavy coats of Future on, and you know, for my purposes, all I want to do is put a very light coat on this model. I don't want a lot of Future on here. I want just enough to make my decaling life easier. And to do that, I thin it. And to thin it, we're just going to use Windex. Now you can use other things. You can use alcohol. You can use Mr. Leveling Thinner. You can use whatever you feel like using. I use Windex. So we give it 2 squirts. 1, 2. And then we have to mix that up. Now, as I talked about, I actually did a video on this very process with a shaky cell phone. Now I'm doing it two-handed, and it's a little bit better, so you can hopefully see what I'm doing. I'm not trying to flood Future on. I want to put it on in gentle, light layers, and hopefully this is showing up on the camera. But there's not really much going on here at all. This is literally just the skin of Future. Ah, the scent of lemons. Okay, the future's on, and as you can see, it is a very, very shiny at this point. And that's really what I want. I'm not looking for perfect. It doesn't need to be perfect. I mean, it's going to eventually be painted in flat paint. I'm going to do a gloss coat over it, or a flat coat over the gloss at some point. So I don't really have to worry too much about that. But what I have to do now is I do have to wait 24 hours. 24, that many. If you try to put decals on before then, you will have problems. That's one thing about futures. You got to be a little bit patient. You got to let it cure so you can do decals. So we're just going to let this sit for 24 hours and we're going to come back and then we'll do the rest.